Hello everyone and welcome back to More Coin Bureau. Recently I spoke with Leonard Dorlöchter, who is the co-founder of Peaq Network. Now for those unfamiliar, Peaq is a DePIN or decentralized physical infrastructure network project, and they are basically building out the machine economy. Now before I ask Leo exactly what the machine economy is, full disclosure, Peaq is a project that we here at the Coin Bureau invested in its early stages. We're very proud to have invested in it and we think it is doing some excellent things, but do keep that in mind before watching today's interview. Okay, that's enough from me. Let's catch up with what Leo and I had to talk about. Leo, thanks for joining today. I know you're really busy at the moment. You're on your way to Korea Blockchain Week, is that right?
That's correct, yeah.
Okay.
Pleasure to be here.
It's great to have you. It's great to have you. Like we've been fans of Peaq for a long time. Obviously, it's a project that we're invested in. We really like what you guys are doing, but we thought it would be a great opportunity to get you, as you're on your way to Korea and passing through Dubai, we really wanted to talk to you about, what Peaq is, where it's going, what role it's playing in the wider crypto ecosystem. But I want to start that Peaq describes itself as powering the machine economy. So can we start? Can you tell us what exactly is the machine economy, and how might people be using it, interacting with it in their daily lives, sort of at this point in time?
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, it's great to be here. Finally, being in person as well, meeting you guys in the studio. So when we talk about the machine economy, it's been for a long time a very abstract, futuristic concept. And we really talk about an economy where machines are the main economic actors, meaning that any good or service is bought or offered by a machine. I think an easy example, for example, is a robo-taxi. So you have a autonomous vehicle which is driving through the streets and it's earning money by offering a ride. And then it spends money on a charging station and pays the charging station for that energy. That's the vision we've been talking about like a couple of years back. And if we now look into the future, really we see more and more robots emerging, humanoids emerging. We have all those sensors, smart energy assets where every household is soon able to produce energy and sell that energy. We see that already a lot in Europe, Scandinavia, Northern America as well. And all of that really is what we call the machine economy. And yeah, it's going to be the biggest economy that mankind has ever seen, because literally all those goods and services going to be traded in real time, all the time, 24/7, and without middlemen, because it's much, much cheaper and more efficient when these goods and services, connectivity, energy, mobility, can be offered peer-to-peer. And for that, you need a blockchain.
Yeah. So no middleman, and also, I guess, an absolute minimum of kind of human input, which I guess is something that speeds the whole process up, because as you say, these machines are talking to each other, interacting with each other, obviously along lines, pre-programmed lines, I guess.
Yeah.
But really not seeking any sort of human input at all. And yeah, I expect that very sort of standalone economy. Now, I mean, this kind of grew out, or it seems like this grew out of the Internet of Things, which was kind of big, a few years ago. And I remember the example that I always heard for that was that your fridge would detect when you were out of milk, and it would order you some more, and you'd never have to go to the shops again, and we'd all be free. But it didn't. It didn't kind of work out like that. But it seems like, that always seemed to me to be a little lacking in ambition, really, because it's like, well, who cares about having to go to the shops or not? But this, as you say, like this is potentially sort of almost, I mean, I guess it's limitless, the amount of machines that could be talking to each other, and, not just across all sectors, not just taxis or transport, but as you say, also energy and many other things besides.
100%. And it's actually, so we have AI agents now as well. And all of us are communicating with our AI agents, for example, ChatGPT. You have the voice command. So in the near future, we're not going to use our smartphones and laptops so much anymore. We're just going to tell our agent what we want to do. So we're going to tell our agent, hey, please make sure the fridge is filled up with the groceries that I like, or take me to this place in the fastest possible way. And then our agent is going to go and look on the market. How can I buy those groceries the cheapest? How can I book a ride so my owner is getting from A to B the fastest? And that's also part of the machine economy. So the way we see it is that humans going to be plugged into the machine economy through AI agents. And and then the background, all kinds of goods and services going to be bought and traded by actual machines.
Yeah. Now, one of our Coin Bureau Club members on Discord wanted to put a few questions to you, and one of the most interesting I thought was like, if Peaq works out as you dream it will, if everything goes to plan, then how do you see the world looking like in 5 years' time? I mean, is this a case of like, is this our best chance at being sort of almost kind of free from the internet in a way? Because at the moment we spend so much time on our screens, don't we? On our phones, on our laptops, on tablets or whatever. Is this a way that we can actually sort of, hand most of that over to AI agents and kind of get on with living life and touching grass? Is this the vision? Is this the idea?
That's part of it. Yeah. So I think quality of life can increase dramatically when all the things that we need in our daily lives is taken care of by AI agents and robots as well. Mm-hmm. We'll have humanoids at home who clean the dishes and cook and so on. At the same time, we need to make sure that all of this is not happening on a few big closed platforms, because then all the power goes to the likes of Tesla, OpenAI, and so on. So we think it's fundamentally important that this machine economy is rooted on an open system where you have standards, where you can transparently see also what is happening with the data. Is the data being, kept private? And where you also have standards that, these are the rules those machines operate on. And it's a system at the same time that everyone can join in. So if you have an energy asset, you can connect it to the system and earn from that energy asset. If you have some spare cash and you want to own a share in a robotaxi, you can invest in that robotaxi and earn a share in that, right? Like really democratizing the access to that machine economy. And the beauty is, from our perspective, it doesn't work without blockchain, because otherwise, as long as you have those closed, fragmented systems, you will always have less efficiency in the economy. So the most effective way will be to get everything on chain and make it readily available right there.
Yeah, because I think this is something that probably a lot of people hearing this will think, or hearing about the machine economy, will think, well, this is probably, or this could just be another way of big tech companies building walled gardens that we're dependent on.
Yes.
And then, kind of we give all the effort, we spend the money, but it eventually goes to them.
Yeah.
And this was part of the foundation of Web3, wasn't it? This idea that actually, it shouldn't be big tech, that the network should be owned by the users.
Yes.
So, I mean, I guess this is what people are worried about. Are a future where like Tesla robotaxis are everywhere and maybe we're renting out our Tesla, as you say, for a bit of extra money or whatever. But I guess the fear is that just sends more money to Tesla. And, as we've seen, Elon Musk is going to get paid $1 trillion salary, which is, which sounds like just maintaining the status quo. But so Peaq is your solution to, as you say, to democratize this, right? So as we can all have a stake in this machine economy.
Yes, 100%. And of course, the big company's going to be there. And a lot of the machines going to come from Tesla, for example. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, like the platform those machines can be booked on and earned doesn't just have to be Tesla. It can also be on the blockchain, on Peaq, openly. And people can buy Teslas and build up their own robo fleet, which is delivering services, or even plugs into Tesla's system. But still, like the ownership and the revenue is spread across anyone who owns a share in it. So yeah, it's really our way of building foundational global infrastructure for humanity, where we feel like this is necessary. Because if that machine economy is owned by just a few people and a few governments having heavy influence on it, it's not going to be such a great future, because the amount of job automation hitting us very soon is insane. Like huge percentage of jobs that exist today won't exist in the future. So we need to make sure that this future economy works for all of humanity, right? And that everyone can have access to that, and still having a capitalistic system, of course, but making it open and designing it better.
Yeah, because I think that's something I want to come back to in a little bit, because I think, AI, we're seeing such huge advances there, but obviously everyone is worried. It's like, well, is this just going to take my job? But it seems like we might have a different option with Peaq here. But I mean, so is it fair to think then of Peaq as as an interoperability system then? Because you've got different products, you've got different bits of hardware from different manufacturers from all over the world. Is Peaq the way that you connect all those together?
Yeah.
Is that the easiest way to think of it, do you think?
So we like to call Peaq also the machine economy computer. So really being an open computer. And then you have an operating system on that computer, which is kind of all the standards, identity standards, access standards, time standards. So all those machines sitting on that computer run with that operating system the same kinds of standards. So they're interoperable with each other. And then you have on top of both, you have applications. Those span from DePINs, as in like infrastructure applications, to financial applications. Now more and more robotics applications are coming up. So you really have then applications, and Peaq is the coordination layer between the machines, the applications, the users, and plugs it all together. And really creates a economic system that every transaction, every interaction can get computed on.
Yeah. And how much of a technical challenge is that to build the tools that allow all these different companies to plug in? Because like, it's one thing saying, this is the operating system, this is the computer.
Yeah.
But obviously, as any developer would say, well, you need to be able to build for a particular operating system. So, I mean, has that been a big challenge, like getting something getting like SDKs or whatever it might be, that all these different hardware developers, all these different service developers can use to just plug in seamlessly to Peaq?
Absolutely. So we're heavily actually at the moment developing more and more SDKs for the different platforms. There are mobile SDKs, iOS, Android, robotics SDK coming up, and many others. So like we make sure that any developer, no matter what language they're using and no matter which platform they need to integrate in, whatever like machine or operating system it is, they can easily do that with the Peaq SDK, and therefore plugging into all the standards that are on the computer, and they don't have to worry about the complexities of integrating with a blockchain and so on. Yeah, that's a big part of. First, we focused on building all the standards and the chain, and now we're really heavily working on making it as seamless and easy as possible for anyone to onboard.
Yeah. Now, you said the word blockchain. Obviously, this has come up a few times.
Yeah.
How has that been when you're talking to potential users of Peaq? Because it seems like we're coming out of a period now. Web3, blockchain, crypto in general can be a bit of a hard sell. Like I think. From my point of view, I think that attitude is softening.
Yeah.
But I still believe that if you say the word blockchain to certain people, they kind of have an allergic reaction or anything. So with all the conversations that you've been having with Web2 entities or tech companies or whatever it might be, what's their reaction been like to the B word? Is it something you feel they're more comfortable with? Are they more open to it, or do you still feel like it's a bit of a battle to kind of get them on side with that?
Yeah, there's still quite some skepticism in the, let's say, traditional world. Mm-hmm. I mean, our industry doesn't have a good reputation, and for good reason. But the advantage we're having is we can show those companies actual tangible applications and cases that bring value for them and users. So we're fortunate in that sense, that we can clearly show, look, this is a better way to collect sensor data. This is a better way to build a decentralized energy grid. And with those cases, people are listening. And then those who are really digging in, they understand, okay, wow, this technology really has value and can solve problems that others can't. But yeah, it's not yet that everyone says, yeah, we need blockchain. Let's go.
Yeah.
It's still a bit of a journey.
Yeah. I think we're probably still some way away from that changing, aren't we? But as you say, this is an industry that doesn't have a great reputation. I mean, we could talk for hours about why that is, but I think most people will know.
Yeah.
But I mean, this is one of the reasons why we were so interested in Peaq, because it's like, this is a project that is not, this isn't about meme coins or infrastructure that we don't need. Like this is kind of doing what blockchain was supposed to do.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it is still a bit of an uphill battle. I can imagine. But I mean, so in terms of the sort of economy that we're talking about, millions, potentially billions of machines, I guess, interacting all the time, 24/7, and I guess so many a lot of microtransactions and things like that, happening. So I mean, that must have been a pretty big technical challenge, and must still be in terms of scaling, because we talk about TPS and we talk about finality. We talk about how fast a blockchain needs to be, and this is quite often, just for doing token swaps or maybe, payments if it's really ambitious. But what you guys are talking about is kind of payment squared almost, isn't it? Because it's like it's potentially, I guess, billions of transactions a second, right?
There will be many, many more machines than humans already are actually in devices. And when there are 50 billion machines interacting with each other, you need a very, very scalable system, 100%. And we were fortunate that when we started working on Peaq, we've been in Berlin and we stumbled upon Substrate quite early on, like the framework developed by Parity and the Polkadot team. And I think it's probably one of the most underrated technologies in this industry, because it's a fantastic, fantastic framework. And it kind of applies learnings from Web 2 scaling to Web 3, where you can upgrade the chain in a modular way, and you can introduce new functionalities such as scaling the parallelization of block creation in an elastic way. And you can really do this on a lot of scale. So we've just done a 60K TPS on the testnet, which will go to Mainnet soon. And we're confident that Peaq in the next year sometime will be able to do 100,000 TPS in production, like not in a lab environment. And this will scale further because it's not a lot of chains use vertical scaling. It's a monolithic scaling. So just scaling by adding more powerful hardware and making that box bigger. And what we're doing is horizontal scaling. So we're scaling with microservices, like in Web 2, you can scale a backend in a more modular way.
Yeah.
And this prepares Peaq to really be that computer that has super high TPS, low block time, and having an architecture which supports decentralization and not forces more and more centralization.
Okay. So, I mean, was that because what came first? Did you have you had the vision for Peaq and you were like, how do we implement this? Or was it, and then you stumbled across Substrate, or was it the other way around? Did you look at Substrate and go, hang on, this lets us do this? Which came first?
So we've been having like the three Peaq founders, Till, Max, and I. We've been having an enterprise blockchain development studio before we started Peaq. And we worked on enterprise use cases such as decentralized charging, electric vehicle charging with Audi and a few other big companies. And this is where the vision for Peaq really emerged. That realization, enterprise blockchain closed, it doesn't make sense. And it's not going to be one use case. It's going to be a whole smart city where everything and everyone will transact with each other seamlessly. And this is where we had the vision for Peaq. And then we looked at, how do we make that become reality? Because we thought about the machine economy in 2017 already.
Right.
But back then there was just Ethereum. And it was impossible to build anything on scale on Ethereum. Way too slow, way too expensive. And in 2021, then we realized with frameworks like Substrate and other scaling solutions, now we can actually attempt to build this computer powering the machine economy.
Okay, so Substrate basically showed you that it was possible.
yeah, like we looked on the market, and we thought also about reinventing the wheel and building our own L1 from scratch. But then we realized, okay, we have a great framework there, and we can really build that chain out, starting with that framework.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It says a lot about kind of Gavin Wood's vision, doesn't it? Because Substrate is old by crypto standards, right?
100%. I think Gavin Wood most of Web3 runs on his ideas, and be it Ethereum, right? And many ideas taken also, be it restaking, sharding. I think it's all his brainchild. And he is he's ahead of the space always a couple of years. And I think it's probably the person that's done the most and getting the least credit for it.
Yeah, that's true. He's got a very interesting story as well. Obviously, his background and how he came to be involved with Ethereum. But I think you're right. He's one of those people. It's like if you follow a lot of these threads back, they sort of lead there. And he was talking about this, in 2014, 2015, and maybe only now he's sort of starting to get the recognition he deserves.
Yeah, I hope so. And Polkadot and Substrate and how it's set up, it's brilliant. Yeah, and just most people don't look deep enough to see that, because we're following hype, attention, and you need both in this industry.
Yeah. That is one of the difficult things about the industry, isn't it? Yeah. Because, a particular blockchain will get big. I guess the example that everyone would cite is Solana getting big off the back of meme coins and things like that. But have you found that a challenge in that, you're sort of trying to talk to people about, what you're trying to do with the machine economy? And it's like, yes, but, why aren't you running on, we thought Solana was the fastest blockchain, or, why aren't you running on this network, or whatever it may be?
Yeah, totally. This whole, having all those chains, having all those narratives. Last year, when we launched Peaq, we were heavily competing with meme coins to get a listing slot, right? And then you're like, wow, here's all that value, and we've been working so hard, and we're actually doing something real and meaningful. But in the end, it's all about where's the tension and where's the money to be made. And then, of course, a lot of people are like, hey, why do you need a new chain? Why don't you do this on Solana, on Base, or others? And now we start talking more and more about why you need Peaq and why you need a dedicated chain for that. And it becomes clearer for more and more people. But yes, definitely in that industry, attention, hype, it's not enough if you do the right thing and you do it well. You also need to be able to understand how the dynamics of the industry work to be successful.
Yeah. There's a game to be played, isn't
100%,
there? And it's like, I guess like, I don't really want to play this game. I'd rather just kind of rather just work on building what we're trying to build. But there is unfortunately a game to be played. But but I want to go back a little bit, because I'm intrigued by what you were saying about AI, and we should talk about this a bit more, because the more I think about it, and when I think of the machine economy, I'm sort of beginning to think, well, is it going to be so much an economy of machines, or is it? I kind of feel maybe like more of a household economy, because at the moment, so many people are threatened by AI taking their jobs, and we're seeing this happen. Like, companies are scaling back hiring. People are already losing jobs to AI, and that's only going to accelerate, I think. Yeah. So, is this something that you feel? Is this going to be how maybe a lot of people can earn a living in the future? You mentioned maybe renting out your car as a taxi, or generating power from your home and selling that back to the grid. Is that something that you guys talk about a lot, this idea of maybe not each person, but each household being a kind of standalone economy, producing particular goods, it might be energy, it might be rides, it might be whatever. Is that part of the vision that you see for Peaq?
Yeah, totally. Like, we believe that entrepreneurship will go up a lot, that people will have, as you're saying, offering what they can with the assets they have, and earn a bit of passive income there, then being able to invest in those machines, which are then potentially taking people's jobs as well, allowing to build up income streams. So I think this is going to be a big part. Of course, at some point, when really the entire economy is run by machines, we also need to think about how's that wealth being distributed? And that's also something we see in decades to come, where concepts like universal basic ownership could come in. We don't call it income, but ownership, because we believe everyone should be able to own a part of that machine economy. But that's decades into the future. But yeah, totally. Like, I think income streams will increase with people participating in that economy. And yeah, because businesses, there will be less and less small businesses and traditional jobs in bigger companies, because that economy is going to decentralize further and further. There's an interesting concept called the zero marginal cost society from someone called Jeremy Rifkin. And he talks about a lot of what we're working on, where he says at some point energy is going to be for free, because it's going to be so cheap to produce and so easy to share that it will be at zero marginal costs, basically. You will have a 3D printer at home and you can print something, and someone wants to buy that, and you might be able to produce it and give it to that person. So yeah, we believe in that future, because I think it's going to be a better future.
Yeah. And I guess that could, that can help sort of allay some of the fears that people might have about the future and an AI-powered future. And, we haven't even considered the impacts of things like quantum computing either.
Yeah.
Or AGI, if we get there, as quick as some people think we might. But it does look like, because even if we're in a situation where people still have jobs, AI is going to improve productivity so much that maybe there's not going to be that call for people to be working necessarily a 9 to 5. And of course, that never, as you imagine, certainly under the current system, that would never translate into people getting the same money. So it kind of feels like people are going to need to create that sort of side hustle, if you like, or that standalone economy for themselves if they're going to have a shot. Because you imagine this isn't the sort of ground that big tech is going to give up willingly, right?
Definitely not.
Yeah.
And like when thinking about the future, as you were saying, there are a lot of scary things ahead of us, and no government is really preparing for that future. And I think the UN as well has other problems to deal with right now. And we believe with blockchain technology, for the first time, we can create global infrastructure which is independent from nation states and organizations like the UN. So we can come together and have systems and rules and governance on chain, value distribution. And this is really this is what drives us at Peaq. This is our big vision and mission. We want to create that humanity scale critical infrastructure that makes sure this machine economy is going to be human-centric and not machine-centric, or not centered around a few people benefiting only. That's our big why.
Yeah. Because I imagine a lot of people hearing the idea, what you were talking about earlier, people sort of maybe co-owning particular technologies or whatever it is, that in some people's minds that will hark back to what the Klaus Schwabs of this world will say, you'll own nothing and be happy. So I mean, you must be considering a lot or thinking a lot about how Peaq and how the machine economy can sort of feed into like individual self-sovereignty.
Yeah.
Because I guess the risk is that you become, or people perceive the risk to be that, yes, okay, there's this future where machines are interacting with each other, but actually humans are just very, very small cogs in that. So I guess, part of that message has to be, well, how do you put humans in control? Like you may only part own this, but you still have agency, you still have sovereignty.
100%. So we strongly believe in ownership. People should have as much ownership as possible, because if, like the World Economic Forum vision from Klaus Schwab, that's not a good future, because then, you have, again, centralization of power. And in order to empower people, we need to distribute ownership, or at least provide access to allow people to have a stake in that economy. Yeah, when it comes to security and when it comes to agency and our role in it, also there, blockchain can play a huge role, because if the rules machines are running on are defined by the blockchain protocol itself, and they run on that economic infrastructure, at some point you could even think about things like when a machine misbehaves, they get punished by the system, right? Like, and that way you can really create a substrate which is more secure, or you have a identity of a machine, and that identity just gets blacklisted for certain services, right? And then of course we need to make sure that also there again humans stay in control. And I think also there it's great to be able to run on rules that are powered by a blockchain, and that we can together vote on what those rules should be as well, and develop them further.
Yeah. And of course, I mean that is part of the foundational ethos of blockchain, isn't it? This idea that this is an open system.
Yeah.
It can be audited. Anyone can see it. Anyone can track bad actors. And I guess with things like slashing for proof of stake validation and whatever, those systems are already in place. So as you say, if you've got a machine misbehaving, which sounds a bit terrifying, but at least those systems are in place that you can stop that.
100%. Yeah, we have some exciting token utility coming in that direction also very soon. Yeah,
okay.
Additional. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, this sounds like a good point to sort of look back over the last year, because we're less than a month away from the first anniversary of Peaq's mainnet going live, and obviously the Peaq token going live at the same time. So just looking back over the last 12 months, what have been your big takeaways from that, and what have you learned? What are the lessons that have stuck with you since you sort of came out of stealth mode, I guess?
Yeah, launching a token is a big thing. And then a layer one ecosystem as well. Like there's so many things you need to take care of for it to run well. Big learnings, we probably would have waited longer if we would do it again. Okay. We've been pushing very hard, but we didn't have the full operational infrastructure in place to completely sustain momentum and everything. So after the launch, we had to build up a lot of things that, were in place, but not the way it would have been ideal. So I can really just recommend to any founder who's launching a long-term serious project to make sure that when they launch, they have built up a good operational infrastructure, strong organization, and ideally also revenues, traction as much as possible. Because once the token is out, it's going to consume a lot of your attention. And we had all-time highs, we had all-time lows, and it goes up and down very fast. And of course, like you also need to, you need to build the actual thing. And then you have a lot of pressure from the market, the community, investors, right? And it's not easy to balance. Like you really need to develop a healthy discipline around going through your week.
Yeah. And I guess sort of trying as much as possible to ignore token price, because this is one of the. I guess this is another one of the problems with the industry that people tend to judge, and sometimes it's correct, but people tend to judge a project by how its token is performing. Yeah. So if it's at all-time highs, then this project is untouchable. It's the future. This project is winning, and if it's at all-time lows, it's dead. Forget it. Forget all about it. That must be quite hard to sort of continue working through both situations, or that time in the middle where it's just kind of chopping sideways, which again is what most tokens do. But has that been a challenge, or is that getting easier to sort of be like token price doesn't matter at this stage?
I really had to train myself not to check CoinGecko, CoinMarketCap on the weekends, evening and mornings, because in the morning, for example, if there was a pump, I would have like a dopamine kick and be like, wow, amazing, and couldn't really focus. Yeah. And if there's a drop, you're like, oh, damn, no, the token price is down. It affects you so much if you're so attached to the project that you're building. So developing discipline around checking the token price, I think, is very, very important. And then you're absolutely right. If the token is doing well, everyone is happy. It's the best marketing and so on. If the token is not doing well, it does the opposite, right? And like it's harder to build the ecosystem, attract more investors, and so on. So, unfortunately, it's majority of success and failure in this industry. I think if you look at fundamentals, a lot of projects have a strong token price. low fundamentals, and the other way around, exactly the same. And I mean, what we do is we accept the reality of this industry. For some time, we're like, oh, damn, let's focus on building. The rest will come. But you need to accept, I think, as a founder, that there's a certain game, as we said earlier, to be played. And you just need to acknowledge that your token is important. We're doing our best to build the best possible fundamentals and make sure the token is doing well at the same time. Yeah.
So can I just ask about the token and its, for people who are unfamiliar with Peaq or maybe coming to it for the first time, what is the Peaq token's role on the Peaq network in the machine economy?
Yeah. So the traditional roles are paying for transaction fees on the network, staking to secure the network as well, and also governance, which is going to be introduced in phases so that people can vote on bigger decisions, protocol decisions. At some point, also certain machine standards and functionalities can be voted on chain. And looking 5 years into the future, we really see big companies and governments participating in that governance process as well, because they have an interest how those standards are set, how the machine economy is running. And so governance will increase in importance and the token utility there. And then, as I said earlier, the token is also going to play a big role in trust, in trusting machines, trusting actors, and also punishing those actors in case they misbehave. We're going to introduce more on that later this year in the Purple paper, which is going to be a big paper outlining everything we're doing in a lot of detail.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. So so I guess that those incentives and those punishments, if you like, that we talked about earlier for these machines that might misbehave. Like obviously the Peaq token itself, that can be an incentive or a punishment.
Like having collateral at stake, and then it being slashed in case a machine is misbehaving. And that being part of a bigger trust system that we're deploying. Yeah.
Even machines need skin in the game.
Exactly. They have to in order for peer-to-peer interaction to work properly.
Yeah. Okay, so we're nearly a year in to Mainnet, and as you say, there's a few things that I'm sure many founders would say similar things, but it's always interesting to hear what the journey's been like, because I guess Mainnet token launch, it must feel like the end of something, but actually it's the beginning of a whole new and bigger phase. So what's next? I know you're off to Korea Blockchain Week after this. What can we look forward to from Peaq over the next few months and over the next year or so?
Yeah, so the next couple of weeks going to be super exciting. We've been working on big things that we're going to release partly on Korea Blockchain Week as well. Really big pieces of the machine economy coming together, right? It's been, as I said initially, a big vision for a long time, but now almost all the pieces to have, let's say, a version 1 of it are almost in place. And this is happening now over the next weeks and months. So expect big news when it comes to owning machines, when it comes to onboarding robots to the network, like really advanced machines of the machine economy. And continuous product updates. There's a lot in the pipeline. The engineering team is super busy. We have a big ecosystem campaign where people can get rewarded for onboarding DePIN devices to the network, for fulfilling quests that are actually co-building the machine economy. This is ongoing. And as I said, the paper, we're very much looking forward to publishing this, because it's gonna really give an in-depth understanding of our big vision, why we do what we do, and how we do it, like on a technical level, really outlining all the steps. Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of people's attention will have sort of been triggered by the word robots as well, because that seems to we've actually done a few videos on Coin Bureau about this, because I think robots are nothing new. They've been around for a long time, but actually it seems like now we're sort of heading in the direction of kind of humanoid robots that sort of look like us, and not just doing kind of one particular task over and over again. This idea of a sort of multifunctional humanoid robot it feels like it's getting pretty close. And I mean, if you speak to someone like Elon Musk, he'd say like Optimus is that thing. But then, you see footage of them and they're sort of like, yeah, we there. But how do you feel about that? I mean, do you feel that we are sort of really on the cusp of that becoming a big thing? Are we sort of just a few years away from sort of humanoid robots being kind of a common sight on the streets and in factories? Or is this something that, are we getting ahead of ourselves?
Just on Monday, I've been in the robotics lab and I've seen those humanoids walking. And then it walks in front of you and you're like, wow, this is really human-like. It felt like there's something human to it. And, the way it lays down, it stands up, like you can push it and it won't fall. So it's really advanced now. And with AI being at the level it is already, right? The intelligence and ability for them to understand and do things, I think we're quite close, like 1, 2, 3 years. Okay. And we'll see the first humanoids deployed in households doing like dishes or cleaning things up. I think, it's, let's say 2 years.
Yeah.
We're close. Yeah.
Well, that's exciting, isn't it? Because I always think when talking about robots and about AI, there's the quote, isn't there? I can't remember who it was, but someone saying like, I don't want a robot to do my art and creative writing for me. So, free me to do the dishes. Yeah. I want the robot to do the dishes so I can, do all the artistic stuff. But I mean, because I think a lot of people would say, or certainly some of the arguments I've heard in terms of humanoid robots and how close we are to that being a reality, is that we need AGI for that. Because at the moment, this idea of them running on an LLM is sort of like, well, that's always going to be limited. What they really need to do is to be thinking for themselves. Do you agree with that? Do we need AGI for these things, or can we run them without that?
Yeah, I think for them to become real agents, AGI is necessary, because otherwise they're always going to be, limited in what they can do. But yeah, I think they will be able to provide quite some value already before AGI. I mean, you have the cleaning robots already in supermarkets, for example. Sometimes, they run around and they clean the floor. So things like that, specific applications, I think we'll see before AGI more and more. Yeah.
Okay. And I guess, if it's done right, then the more they do those, the more they can learn and adapt to situations, maybe without AGI.
Yeah, training data. Yeah, a lot of training data is going to be collected.
Yeah. And it makes you realize, doesn't it, just the huge demand for power that there's going to be to power all this data. I mean, we're talking more data than we can ever really imagine. And I guess to kind of bring it back to Peaq, it's interesting because one of the things I've long thought is that really we shouldn't be, when we talk about building a nuclear power plant or something like that, we always talk about the number of households that it can power. And every time I hear that, I kind of think, well, yeah, but we have solar panels, we have heat pumps and things like that. Surely each house should be powering itself. And I guess that is kind of the Peaq vision, to go back to what we were talking about earlier, this idea. It's like, and then we can devote all this other energy to powering the AI, which is going to power the machine economy.
A fun fact is Germany actually has enough renewable energy assets to power the entire country, but it's lacking the digital infrastructure to efficiently trade it.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's really about, and they have like government meetings where they're like, okay, how do we, make sure that all the cars that we're having that can store so much energy can give it back to the grid whenever it's needed. All the batteries are there with electric vehicles. The energy assets are there to produce the energy. It's missing the infrastructure to trade it.
Yeah.
And that's where energy DePINs are really coming in and grassroots movement, connecting all the energy assets and providing the peer-to-peer infrastructure to trade it.
Because I was going to ask about that as well, because I noticed, when we first started looking at Peaq and looking at your website now, like quite a lot of the focus is on, clean energy, wind turbines, solar panels, heat pumps, etc. Was that informed by the fact that you guys were based in Germany, and obviously Germany's kind of really leaned into the kind of green revolution a lot more so than other countries? Yeah. Was that what informed that kind of direction that Peaq went in?
I think it had a big impact. Yeah, in 2017, IoT was a big thing in Germany. You have Bosch, you have all those OEMs, machine manufacturers there. And actually, Jeremy Rifkin, whom I mentioned earlier, he was advising Angela Merkel on that strategy. So Germany invested heavily in that idea of building a decentralized energy grid. And I'm sure this shaped how we think about things and had an impact. In the early 2017, there was IOTA around as well in Berlin, right? Yeah. We worked with them closely. So yeah, there was quite a community around that. And now that vision comes more and more to fruition around the globe.
Yeah. I remember IOTA being talked about a lot, back in the sort of 2017 cycle. And I guess that's a good example of, a project that was really promising. Everyone could kind of get on board with that narrative. It seemed like it was a bit ahead of its time, a bit too early to that. And I mean, I'm sure we've seen that with a lot of crypto projects, ones that maybe haven't sort of taken off as we expected. It's not that they weren't good projects or good ideas. It's just that the world wasn't kind of ready for them.
For us, it also took until DePIN was a thing and a narrative, it was really hard for us to gain traction on the investor and the builder side, because we've been talking about machine economy of things. But as long as you don't have a narrative in the space, we're talking again about the token and so on, it's difficult to be positioned because people want to put you in boxes. So we also had to just stay alive long enough for the real world and the narratives to catch up with what we are doing. And now there's DePIN, there's robotics. More and more people use machine economy. So the Ethereum Foundation yesterday talking about the machine economy.
Yeah.
So it's great to see the narratives are catching up with us.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that must be a good feeling, mustn't it? Because it's like, it kind of feels like this is the time for this particular project. And I guess as well, in terms of how uncertain the world is becoming, and going back to this idea of people having sort of self-sovereignty, I think a lot of people feel like that, don't they? It's like, I think trust in governments and institutions is waning.
Yes.
And I think a lot of people more and more sort of want to feel like they have more ownership over their life, or they're not quite so dependent on the state. Because, a lot of it, you could argue that the state is already kind of in retreat in a lot of places.
It is.
So it's not just about protecting ourselves from from all the uncertainties that AI might bring and the kind of, the reshaping of the economy. But it's also kind of protecting ourselves maybe against this idea that the state can just provide everything and we can rely on that.
Exactly. I think we have to create better systems right now, because of the technological disruption and transformation. As you're saying, more and more nation states are also in a difficult situation right now. And I think a truly global society can only run on truly global, decentralized, censorship-resistant systems. Mm-hmm. And that's how we're going to get beyond autocracy. That's how we're going to make sure we become resilient as a global society as well. And we connect ourselves and we can govern ourselves together. And blockchain was invented for that.
Yeah, yeah. Now, just before I'm going to finish up by just asking a little bit about you and your background, because I'm sure a lot of people are wondering, how do you come to be working on the machine economy? But I just want to double click a little bit on this idea. You were talking about DePIN and all these different sort of DePINs that, DePIN is a very decentralized physical infrastructure networks for those who are wondering what we're talking about. But that manifests itself in very different ways, doesn't it? And obviously, Peaq is the host network for a lot of different DePINs. Can you give us just a few examples of the kind of DePIN projects that Peaq is hosting?
Absolutely. So energy we talked about already, being able to crowdsource connecting energy assets and then making that energy data available, and later also energy trading. For example, storage, like providing storage that you have. Compute is another example, right? If you have spare compute on your computer or smartphone, you can provide it to the network. Sensor networks is a big one. measuring noise pollution as an example, or recording what's happening in the real world in real time with cameras. So you can, whatever good or service you can crowdsource digitally, you can do that with a DePIN. And the way we see DePIN is really building the infrastructure for the machine economy, because all those machines then going to be able to plug into that compute, energy, sensor networks. They're going to know what's happening where. And DePIN collectively is really building the infrastructure the machine economy can run on then. And this is why Peaq is also home to DePIN.
Yeah. So I guess, anyone watching, if you have an idea of a service that you can, provide, this is an opportunity. This is a network that you can, if you can build it, this is the network it can run on.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, Leo, so to finish off, can you just tell us a little bit about your background? How did you come to do this? Yeah. And what is life as a crypto founder like?
When I was 17, I knew I wanted to become an entrepreneur. So that was kind of clear. Then I went to Berlin, because Germany was the best place for startups. And my now co-founder, Till, introduced me to Ethereum quite early while I was studying business informatics. Mm-hmm. And I fell down the rabbit hole completely. Then we thought about, okay, what can we do? And we loved that concept of combining IoT and blockchain. 2017 was too early to build any public network or any large-scale applications on a public chain. And then we decided, let's solve real business problems by applying blockchain and IoT. And we worked with Audi and the Volkswagen Group, also Gucci, for example, and machine manufacturers to really see, okay, are there problems to be solved when doing that? Yeah, and in that journey, we realized, okay, decentralized charging platform is cool, but this is just one use case. You need like a system that's powering the entire future of smart cities. And this is how the vision of Peaq emerged along the journey. And 2021, we started doing that then, building Peaq as we know it today. And life as a crypto founder is intense. It's exciting. I mean, we have that huge vision, which just keeps us going no matter which challenge we have. Yeah, but I think it's probably one of the fastest moving industries. And as we said earlier, narrative driven, price driven, you can build the best fundamentals. It still doesn't mean your token is doing well, right? So that's tough. And 24/7 market trading is also something where, you don't get to rest really. Really building healthy routines, doing enough sports, sleeping enough, meditating, spending enough time with the loved ones, super important. Yeah. And I think now I'm in after the launch, I needed some time to, adjust. Yeah. And now I think I found a really good balance to be effective in this high intensity space, while also still feeling good and having a life. Yeah. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, I remember talking to you over a year ago for the first time now, when you guys were raising them and we first heard about you. And you haven't gone crazy in the intervening time. So, keep up the great work. Leo, it's been a real pleasure to talk to you today. Likewise. I think Peaq is a fantastic project. We're really proud to be invested in you guys. And it's great to see a project solving real problems and looking far into the future. So we wish you all the best.
Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, it's a pleasure.
Thanks for coming. Thanks for watching, everyone. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will be back again soon. See ya.
See ya.